In studio for after a very, very busy week of Pacific athletics. Joined in studio with my co-host Scott Brown. I am Cody Kelly. Coach, how's it going?
Well, big week. Big week. Today's a big day. Jameson's got a couple baseball games in Eureka, and we got the Final Four tonight. And what else did you say is happening tonight?
Oh, WrestleMania. That's the big thing.
WrestleMania. Oh,
Stone Cold Steve Austin making a return tonight at WrestleMania.
I haven't watched a wrestling match. Gosh, it's probably been 15 to 20 years.
Oh, you're missing out. Before we jump into Riverbend, I think, did you have something you wanted to correct?
Yeah, I wanted to give a shout out to Coach Gilcrease, Phil Gilcrease, and the Little Indian Hoops program that he runs in January and February. They wrapped up a good season. Kids first, second, third, fourth grade, boys and girls have an introduction to basketball, and they play some games, usually with their elementary schools, and he does a great job over there, and I wanted to give them some love and tell them we appreciate them, and they're helping to feed the basketball program. So shout out to Phil Gilcrease and the Little Indian Hoops.
And then before we jump into the Riverbend Roundup, our student correspondent is here. A little tardy. It looks a little tired on Saturday morning, bright and early, but he made it.
How you doing, Charlie?
Yeah, I'm pretty tired.
Yeah, it is. It is a Saturday morning for a teenager.
Yeah, so as we jump into the Riverbend Roundup, we actually have some stuff to report at Riverbend because the track had their first meet on Monday.
Yes, the track team traveled to Owensville. I know it was cold and windy, but they had a successful meet. I think both teams took second behind Union in the track meet. Some standouts on the girls' side. 8th grader Ariana Edmonds had a big track meet. She placed first in the 100 hurdles, first in the 100-meter dash, and she was part of the 4x200 relay team that also finished first. McKenna Lay, another 8th grade girl, first place in the shot put and was on the 4x2 team that finished first. And Alana Reeder, first place in high jump, second in the 100 hurdles, second in the 400 dash. Grace Dreyer, second place in the mile, second in the 4x8, and first in the 800. All of those 8th grade girls had fantastic meets. And on the boys' side, Ben Smith was first in the 4x8 with his 4x8 relay of Braden Milberg, Riley Milberg, and Dominic Burnell. And he was second in the mile, Ben was, and second in the 800. Ethan Holzmark, second in the hurdles. Gavin Hall with second place in the shot put with a throw of close to 30 feet. So the middle school track team literally is off and running. And I also had an update. I told my wife I would fix this. I reported their record wrong in 7th grade volleyball. Their season wrapped up, and they finished 9-8 on the season with a winning record. So Riverbend is very busy right now with all these track meets.
Yeah, you definitely want to make sure you get that one right.
Yeah, I had to get that right.
And then I'm sure Coach Missy and Coach O'Neill are happy to finally get some meets underway. I know they got a couple more coming up. It's a kind of a quick sprint season for them too.
Yeah, track meets are a lot of fun. It's a social event. Kids get to compete. If the weather's nice, it's a great way to compete in middle school and high school.
And hopefully we'll get some nice weather as we get going. And now let's go up to 425 Indian Warpath to talk about a busy week of high school athletics. First thing on the docket was the soccer team got underway on Monday night. They beat Sullivan 8-0, and I'm going to have you stay with me on this. Abbey Hall, 5 goals.
Wow.
I mean, we were listening to it kind of down in the baseball field during our game Monday, and all I just kept hearing was Abbey Hall, Abbey Hall, Abbey Hall.
Yeah, I went to school with a guy named Brian Hardcastle. He was in my class. Bob Hardcastle, our great lead custodian here, it's his son. He had 6 in a boys' game in high school. That's crazy. I thought that was crazy number when I heard it when he had 6.
Well, Abby had those 5. I threw my hat from the baseball field. I don't think it made it up on the football field, but I tried. Lexi Clark chipped in with 1 goal. Ryan Murphy had a goal, and Carolyn Tomlinson had a goal, and Emmeline Steele had 6 saves in the shutout. On Tuesday night, Fox came to town to play Pacific, and Fox beat the Indians 6-1. Abbey Hall had another goal that night. Then on Wednesday, in a little bit of a rain-soaked affair.
A little bit?
Yeah, a little bit. Union came to town in a big conference matchup against Pacific and won 2-0.
Yeah, that's a big rivalry, and I know our girls felt they were going to perform better. And I can't remember the last time somebody's beat Union in Four Rivers soccer. And I think we have the talent to do it. We get one more shot at them. I hope we can get them.
Yep, we'll go to their place and take one from them.
The golf team did have a performance this past week. They placed 10th out of 12 teams at the Union tournament out of Birch Creek. The best Indian score, the lowest score was Connor Bartell. He shot a 95 and tied for 16th. And I think they have another match coming up at Birch next week.
Yeah, I think they actually have a couple coming up next week. We'll see if they get them in. Hopefully the rain stays away. It's not been helping the golf team early on. And then we move over to baseball, where the baseball team had a busy week with all three teams going inside the program. On Monday night, the Indians started the week off. Oh, actually, let me go back to Saturday because we didn't get to report this because we had to run down after our show. The Indians beat DeBerg 13-0 on Saturday. Aiden Biedenstein and Jack Meyer 2 for 3 with an RBI. Andrew Payne was 2 for 4 with an RBI, and Ethan Brozier chipped in with a 1 hit but 2 RBIs and 2 runs scored. Weston Kulik got the win for the Indians that day on the mound. And then we'll move to Monday. Indians had Orchard Farms come to town. Ethan Brozier was 2 for 3. Ethan Simpson was 2 for 4. And Wes Branson goes 5 strong innings to pick up the win. And Jack Meyer closed the door to earn a save. Tuesday, the freshmen played. I believe they won 17-6 over Hillsboro.
Yeah, that game started off not well. We were down 5-0 and kind of looked like the start of my JV game. And then all of a sudden, the bats were unleashed.
There was a little bit of nerves, it looked like, probably with the freshman team, their first game. I think there was 4 or 5 errors, and then they settled in behind the pitching effort of Trey Kulik.
Yeah, he got the win on the mound. Freshman first baseman Jake Collier with a big 3-run homer. Connor Mooney hit one off the fence, and their bats 1 through 9 were rolling.
And then moved to Thursday against St. Charles, or I should say Friday. That was last night. I was trying to think in my head. Last night, the Indians beat St. Charles 17-1. First time they've played each other since the 2005 state semifinals.
Yeah, that one didn't go as well as last night's.
Nope, but Jack Meyer gets the win going in a complete game, 4 innings. Carter Myers 3 for 3 with 7 RBIs and a grand slam to end the game. Jack Meyer also chipped in with 2 hits, and Ethan Simpson was 2 for 2 with 2 RBIs.
Yeah, I was a little chippy in the beginning of that game, and I think St. Charles kind of woke us up, and our kids' energy level went up, and our bats got rolling in that game too, and that one was fun.
Yeah, it's the first time we had trailed at some point on the varsity level this year, 1-0 after 1.
And then they answered, that's for sure. The JV got our first win last night, also 11-5. We beat the St. Charles JV under the lights. We got to play all 7 innings. That varsity game ended fairly quickly. And Luke Gerling took the mound for us, pitched 3 strong innings. Luke was also 3 for 3 at the plate with 3 hits the opposite way, which is impressive. We preach that a lot. 2 doubles. Xavier Cox had 3 doubles on the night. 1 to left, 1 to center, 1 to right. We also had Connor Mooning chipping in with a couple of hits. Drew Beffa did really well on the mound, and Xavier came in to close it out the last inning for the JV baseball team's first win.
Yeah, and before we move on, I wanted to go back to soccer. I know somebody's going to ask, we do not have any JV scores reported to us for those games, so unfortunately we're not able to report on those.
Yeah, we'll hopefully get a few of those for next week.
And then we're moving to track, where we're trying to get an update still as we speak. They're actually at a meet today. I know that their meet on Tuesday. I might just let Charlie, he was there. He could probably tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah, so this week we went to Union on an extremely cold Thursday afternoon and competed in a mixture of snow, rain, and sleet. We competed against Union, New Haven, St. Clair, and Sullivan. The guys placed 3rd and the girls placed 2nd. That was really all that was posted on the thing. There's nothing separated for JV and varsity. This week we go to St. James on Friday.
Yeah, I did get one bit of information on the cold Union meet. Coach Hillhouse did send me a picture of him in the sleet. I guess he was a little cold that night for a track meet. But the boys 4x4 ran a 3:41 in cold weather. That was Satch Wolf, the Haley, Nick. We had a Haley. We had Vinnie Collins. I'm sorry. I'm having trouble with the 4th one. It was Haley, Vinnie, Satch, and Hunkins was the 4th one, Nick Hunkins. And they ran a 3:41, and Coach Hillhouse was really encouraged. He said in warm weather they cut that down a few more seconds, and that's a time that could make it to state.
Yeah, that was an interesting race.
The only thing I was reported on is Coach Hillhouse said that was the coldest he's ever been at a track meet.
Yeah.
And he's probably been to several, so
He has.
that's saying a lot.
I'm sure of that.
And unfortunately, that would have been Charlie's corner, but I wasn't queued up music-wise since he was just a tad bit late. So that was pretty much it. You just didn't get your music this week because I already had to switch it over.
Tonight, Final Four. Who we got? Who's going to play in the national championship? You've got Kansas versus Villanova. You've got Duke versus North Carolina. Who's going to play in the title game?
I'll take Nova and UNC.
Charlie?
In the Coach K run.
Yeah, that's probably what's gonna be
You're
it.
going Nova, UNC. Well, I want Nova because I can't fathom KU. Sorry, any KU fans out there, if there's a few in this part of the world, no big deal there. But I'm going to go Villanova and Duke, and Coach K marches on for destiny.
I guess we'll see what happens, and I can't wait for some games today. But like I said, I'll have WrestleMania on, so I'll be flipping back and forth, maybe have dual TVs. Before we get going too much, though, on the Final Four and everything else, we got to still do everybody's favorite segment of the week.
Performance of the week.
All right, we'll start it off with Charlie this week. He can give us his performance of the week.
So I actually switched it up from what I told you guys last night, but I went with Drex Blackburn for placing first in the high jump once again this week. He jumped 5 feet 5 inches, and he also placed fifth in the 200-meter dash.
Well, good. That's a good jump for Drex. I know he's really a good athlete, having him in basketball before. So that was a good pick, Charlie.
You want to go now or you want me to go? Mine's going to be pretty obvious. I told you who
you take your obvious one.
I took mine on Monday night when I was listening to it from down at the baseball field. I mean, how do you not go with Abby Hall? 6 goals on the week in 3 games, 5 in 1 game. It's a pretty impressive week for Abby. She's a great athlete, great kid. I think she was my performance of the week once during basketball season, too. So she might be the first 2-time performance of the week, I think.
You're probably right. And she's a fantastic athlete. She really moves well, is competitive, and very fun to watch in both sports.
She also had an assist in the game against Sullivan, too. So she had, I think, 11 points. I think that's how they do it in soccer. It's like 2 per goal and 1 per assist. So that's a pretty impressive night.
Yeah, congrats, Abby. I'm going to go with the baseball route here. The Indians off to a hot start with the varsity team, but I'm going to combo it. I'm going to take one guy that's already been picked for performance of the week and go with his battery mate on the mound. I'm going to take Jack Meyer on the mound for the Indians and Carter Meyer behind the plate, his catcher. Jack had a nice week with a save versus Orchard Farms, came in a relatively close game. A little bit of stress there, and he closed it down, pitching 1 inning. And then last night, he got the win versus St. Charles, pitching all 4 innings. He also had a good time at the plate, 2 for 3. Whenever he's up there, he's our number one. He's our guy. He's going to get all the big games. But he very deserving. And Carter Myers is just off to a phenomenal start. 3 for 3 last night, 7 RBIs, a walk-off grand slam. He's been hitting the baseball in every game. He's our 2 batter in the order. He threw out another base runner tonight. I guess St. Charles hasn't heard don't run on Carter because they're a little bit too far away. But Carter with an unreal start to the season, and I hope he continues. So I'm splitting my performance of the week between Meyer and Myers.
Yeah, that's going to be the word's out in the conference, I'd assume. I don't think we're going to see many base runners once we get into our conference season. And then next Saturday, down at Pacific High School, the Indians play Harrisburg at 11 a.m. Former coach Chris Ackman will be back in town. Freshman baseball coach here brings his Harrisburg team in town. That's also going to be the jersey retirement day. We'll have a little ceremony for number 10, Matt Leary. So those of you that are wanting to come out, come on down to the park at 11 a.m. that day.
Yeah, I hope to be there. I'm hoping I can catch some of that with our JV playing in a tournament that day, but hopefully I can make it back. That's going to be a special moment.
And that'll just about do it for us on this portion of the show. But don't go anywhere because we're going to be joined with Coach Manderski whenever we come back. And we're back. I'm joined in studio this week with our head track coach, Jim Manderski. First year track coach. How nice is it to be here?
You know, it's been a great experience. I kind of got thrown into this as we scrambled to put a track staff together in mid-February, but I really couldn't be happier how things have worked out.
And we'll get into that in a little bit. But first, we always start off with just a little bit about you. Let the people know kind of some things about you.
Sure. Well, I've been teaching and working in education in various ways for 13 years now. I graduated from the University of Missouri in 2009. As an athlete myself, I mostly played baseball and football in high school. Track was something that I did as a way to kind of break into the school system early on. I got just a random job at Parkway Central as a teacher's aide back in 2009, and they needed help in their weight room with the track program, so I volunteered to do that. The year after that, I was given the opportunity to coach the girls' jumps, and the year after that, when I got my first full-time teaching job, all of a sudden they needed a head track coach, and I stuck my hand up, and it's been a great experience ever since. And I feel like we're kind of building the plane as we're flying it, but I've been real happy with how things are going here so far at Merrimack.
Yeah, you talked a little bit about it. You kind of had your coaching staff put together kind of late in the season there. You have Hart Hillhouse, though, is one of your assistants who's been around for a while on the track side of things, so that has to help a little bit.
Yeah, he certainly has a good feel for how things go around here. He's got a great strength and conditioning background from his work as a PE teacher. He got to do the high jump in college, and he's just a really good athlete and a great person and character guy to have around the kids. I'm real happy to have him.
And then just briefly on your other two assistants, I believe it's from the King family line of coaching.
Yes, we've got Alexis King, and her husband Jay has offered to volunteer his time and help with our pole vaulters. Alexis does a great job with our throwers. We've got 18 throwers on the squad this year, so it's no shortage of warm bodies down there. And she really makes a point to give each kid some individual time and attention each day. She's one of the most enthusiastic coaches I've ever worked with, and she really brings a lot of energy and love for track and field to this team. Jay's been fantastic, too, because we really don't have much of a pole vault background amongst our coaching staff. So having him offer to come up here and work with our sprinters on days when we're not vaulting and to give the pole vault kids, which is obviously pole vault's a lot different than any other event we have, their specific attention, he's been so valuable. And then Coach Brent Jones has been working with our distance guys. He was a cross-country coach. He came in as the season was going on, but he knew a lot of these guys from their time in cross-country, and he's been doing a great job pushing what I think could be a real strength of our track program and our distance team.
Yeah, we heard briefly from the King coaches last week because Charlie Meyer caught up with them, I guess, one day after practice. You guys do have the student correspondent on your
yes,
in your program. So we talked a little about your first year. So with that being said, I mean, you're building a program. What are you wanting to see out of that program?
Yeah, the three big core values I've been trying to instill in my kids are effort, commitment, and respect. I told my kids from the time they introduced me as the track coach, if they can do those three things, if they can show up every day, if they can work hard while they're here, and they can demonstrate respect for their team, their opponents, and the sport of track and field, we're going to get along just fine. We've got some really talented kids who are going to do some really exciting things in the sport, but I believe track and field is an awesome way to build character and to help these kids learn some of those skills that are really going to pay off down the road in life. So it's just a way I ensure that everybody gets something out of track and field, even if you're not the kid running in all the varsity meets. You're still growing as a person, and you can take those skills with you when you leave school and even into other sports and other seasons and into the classroom.
And then you guys had your first meet this week. It was probably a little wet, but I heard there was a couple of school records broke, and it sounded like a pretty good day.
Yeah, it was a great day just to get out and to expose kids. We've got a very young team, so exposing our kids to the way that track and field runs, because it's a completely different animal than any other sport. Whereas, in basketball or baseball, you're sitting on the bench with the coach, and you get put in the game, you get taken out of the game. Track and field is much more self-management. So I was really proud of our kids' ability to get to all their events and not have a whole lot of chaos going on. That said, some of our older kids really did a great job. Lexi Lay set the school record in long jump, and Satch Wolf set the school record in the 110 hurdles. Those two guys have been working incredibly hard in the off-season in their strength classes and with their off-season coaches, and I really could not be happier with their effort and the leadership those two sophomores are providing.
Yeah, Coach Hillhouse texted me that, and I thought that was a pretty good start to the year if you're already
Yeah.
breaking school records.
Yeah,
It's a
usually
chance
there's 2 points of the year where school records get broke right out the gate because kids have been working hard in the off season, and you usually get a big burst then. Then, of course, at the end of the season, when we get to districts and state, when all the work we've put in during the season starts to pay off and show itself. So it's a good sign that we're showing progress already.
yeah, now they get to chase their own school record the rest of the year and try to prove it. As far as meets coming up, do you guys have a busy schedule next week?
We're going to roll about 1 meet a week. I think we're going to Union on Thursday, and then we've got the pentathlon at Washington on Saturday for any kid who wants to try and do that. I know we've got at least 2 that are interested, so we're hoping we can make a splash with some of our all-around athletes out in Washington on Saturday.
And then just too on track, some things that people don't know is there's a middle school program going on at the same time, and that is part of your program as a whole. So have you seen anything from them yet? I know their first meet is Monday when we come back from spring break, I believe.
Yes, it is. The weather has really been a real damper on the middle school program. They're not going to bring the kids over here and practice in cold, wet conditions all that often. So they've been limited in what they can get done and the exposure we've had as a varsity program to them. But I know Coach Missy and Coach O'Neill are working real hard with those kids. They had their mock meet already once this year, and they're doing a really good job at introducing these kids that are going to be the future of our varsity program to this, to what we want them to bring with them when they get to the high school level. So they're going to have a full season rolling ahead starting on Monday after break.
And I think I'm scheduled to have Coach Melanie Missy on in a couple of weeks to kind of talk about the middle school track program as a whole. I know that's her second sport of the year, so she should be kind of in the swing of how everything works now. Coach, is there anything else you'd like to add this week for anybody? Or?
Yeah, I running a home track meet is always a real source of stress for any coach. I think it's the one thing that keeps people from wanting to be a head track coach. And I just want to say a real honest and sincere thank you to all the parents and even my athletes who helped to run that meet. We had probably 12 or maybe even 15 athletes who were competing in events and running off field events of their own. Managing all that and making sure that meet ran as smooth as they could was just hugely important to representing our program well. So I wanted to thank all our volunteers and our athletes who helped make that possible.
Yeah, that's something they don't really tell you about when you want to start coaching. Is it takes a lot more than just the players and coaches to make things happen.
It really does. I mean, a track meet especially is bigger than any one person can do. As much as I'd like to burden the responsibility of running 7 field events myself, the math just doesn't work out for that. So all the people who helped out, I am very, very grateful for their services.
Yeah, and we've heard that a few different times from a few different coaches about the community coming out and supporting. So it's really nice that we have that in this area. Coach, I'd like to thank you for joining me
Absolutely.
this week. Hopefully you guys have a pretty good next week of some meets, and like I said, the middle school as well. And then we'll hopefully have you on again. I'm sure Charlie will catch up with you sometimes for his Charlie's Corner segment each week.
I look forward to it all, Coach. Thanks for having me.
All right, thank you so much. And until next week, keep up the chatter.